just when you thought he was down and out. Just when you thought you haven't heard from him in a couple of days. And you're probably thinking, oh man, it might be over. It might be the end. You see, even the world, you see, even the gods themselves threw the world down into shattered pieces at my feet. And what am I as a man? A lonely man, just one. Not a team, not an army, just one man. What am I to do in this circumstance? When the elements reach their extreme, ice falling down from the sky, ice falling down on all the trees, knocking down limbs everywhere. The streets were in peril. No power, electricity in the homes. Tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people with no power, stuck in the ice, temperatures dropping below freezing, lower and lower every day as night grew closer. What am I to do as a man? You survive. You stand before the gods themselves asking you for your pity. Demanding you beg for mercy. You simply say, no, I will stand as a man. And I will survive whatever world you present to me. And that's what we did, folks. We survived. We survived. It's been a snow apocalypse. It's been an ice apocalypse. I'm not going to lie. People have been trapped in their home for days, close to weeks now. Your man Dale Spurs was caught up all in it as well. But listen here, folks. I'm telling you now, if you didn't know, I am a survivor. I will survive in the most extreme conditions, no matter what it takes. And I will drag whoever it is necessary it is to drag with me there to the land of survival. Folks, I'm telling you, I had no power. I couldn't go live. I couldn't stream. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I really do. I wish I had something as a backup, but I didn't. I couldn't go live. I couldn't do anything after the Eintracht, the Frankfurt game. I know. This is just the intro, folks. Come on. Relax. Can you please get back to clapping? There we go. That's it. That's more. I couldn't go live. There I was lamenting in the fact that I couldn't speak to the Spurs fans. I couldn't talk to the people. What was I to do? I survived. And here we are, back in, I guess what we would say, De La Spurs Studios. Going back to you live tonight, January 30th, 6 o'clock. I may be going a little bit longer than an hour, because I'm just so darn happy to see you I'm definitely happy to hear them hands. Keep it going, please. I know this is a long intro. I know your hands and your wrists must be tired, but please, please remember to clap for yourselves as well for being here tonight. You could have been anywhere in the world. You're here with me. That's what matters. That's what's going to continue to matter in this crazy world. I'm telling you, global warming is real, folks. Global warming is real. Okay, all right. I don't want to make this political, okay? Relax. Can we get back to clapping, please? Thank you. This has been a long intro. It really has. But we're here live now for you. If you could, please bring up my big, beautiful face. Here we are. It's De La Spurs Live. I am back. Yes. Like I said before, we went through a snowstorm. It was, not going to lie, it was pretty crazy. No power. People having, if not hundreds of thousands of people in my area without power. It was absolutely insane. It was a crazy event. Fact is that our city's infrastructure in Nashville knew about this, almost weeks beforehand. But then when it finally hit, still no people ready to go. I get it. The ice was crazy. Now, this was like an unprecedented amount of ice, the most I've ever seen hit. I mean, there's been a couple of ice storms that I've seen hit this city. This is probably one of the worst ones I've seen. I haven't lived in the city long, but I mean, yeah, it was pretty bad. It was knocking down tree limbs. It was knocking down power lines. That's why we didn't have power. That's why I couldn't go live to y'all. I know. I'm sorry. Hey, listen. I'm sorry. Just relax, okay? Because I'm coming to you live now tonight. That's right. Continue to clap for me. That's right. I want to hear those hands. Come on. Yes, we're coming to you live again. It's De La Spurs. I'm so happy to be coming back to you guys live to be talking about Tottenham Hotspur content again. It's January 30th, second to the last day of January. All right, that is 1/12 of the year down, 2026. It's a new year, but guess what? It's flying by. It is flying by. The first month is pretty much donezo, folks. So I hope you got off to the strong start. I hope you stay committed to the strong starts you guys have made to your year. Hey, listen, if you didn't make that strong start, you're slipping up. Guess what? It's still the beginning of the year. You still got month 2 coming up in just a couple of days. So lock in. Let's lock in, folks, so we can go into February strong. All right. I hope you guys are doing well. Like I said, the weather's been crazy over here on my end, but I hope you guys have been having a safe time in the winter time this year. I'm sure there's going to be some winter weather at some point where you are, so be careful out there. Drive slowly on ice. Remember to salt your walkways. Do all that stuff, man. But yes, like I said, happy to be coming back to you guys live. I'm going to be going for a little bit longer than an hour. As you can see, I had a long intro. Had to, build the suspense, build the tension. There's been, with me not going live, so I had to, kind of capitalize on that and everything. But nonetheless, happy to be here live with you guys. Happy to be back at home with power, with heat, with Wi-Fi, all that good stuff. And if you don't, shout out to you guys. That's tough living. I hope you get that stuff together. I hope you whatever plan you got going to get that stuff goes for you, because it's very important in these times today. So just wanted to make that known. But yes, happy to be back in the studio, so to speak. Happy to be back in the studio coming to you guys. We got a myriad of topics coming for you guys tonight. First off, we are going to be talking about, like I mentioned before, the end of January. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get into to everything, what am I doing? We gotta do the beginning of the show logistics. Please, please, please go ahead and hit that like button on the stream. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get more De La Spurs content. Follow me on X as well. That should all be in the description. I'll go ahead and put that in the description actually. But yes, that should all be in the description. Follow me on X to get the updates, see the content I'm following, kind of get where my mind is at. It'll kind of give you like a precursor to what the show is going to be when you see me, kind of combing through the social media bits, and looking at little bits of news and everything when I talk about the show, as well as, just watching the game, of course, and everything that happens that way. On YouTube, if you follow me on YouTube, I usually post when I'm going live that day, the time, give you kind of, kind of like a preview of the topics we'll be talking about. It's all going to be there. It's all organized. It's all there for you. So go ahead, follow me, subscribe to the channel. Again, like this live stream, put a comment in there, and then, of course, share it. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family members. Let them know about De La Spurs. Let them know about this greatness, man. Come on. Don't let them be late to the. Don't let them be late, man. Don't let them be late to the greatness. You know what I'm saying? Don't let them be late to what we got going on here. This platform is only gonna go up from here. All right. I know you guys don't know, but looking at the analytics, okay, we're getting a little bit more views. You know what I'm saying? I'm tapping my fingertips together because we're cooking something together. All right. De La Spurs is in the kitchen. So please, please, please share this with your friends. Share this with your family members. Share this with other Spurs fans. Hell, you don't even have to share this with other Spurs fans. Share this with other fans, either of other Premier League teams, other teams that just like watching soccer/football content. Let them know about this greatness, this live stream coming to you every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm in the U.S., so Western Hemisphere, I guess. You know what it is. You know what it is. But, yes, I got a myriad of topics to go from today. First, we're going to be talking about how I mentioned before. It is the end of January, so we are coming to the end of the January window. Have we done enough? Is the business we've done so far, is this good for you guys? Are you happy with what we've done? Do you think the recruitment has been in the right places? Have you think the players have been profiled and ID'd correctly? We're also going to be talking about as well, previewing Tottenham versus Manchester City. Man City's coming to the toxic Toilet Bowl Stadium. They're going to be playing Spurs. It's going to be another should we win, if we should win derby, similar to what it's been the last couple of years. We've been in this crappy position as far as the footballing results and how we've competed in the Premier League. So we're going to be looking at that. Should we be going for the win? We need the points. We don't want to be dragged into a relegation battle, but do we want to give Arsenal the upper hand? We'll be talking about that all, as well as the protest, the Enoch out protest going on the day of the Manchester City game. We're going to be looking at that as well. Shout out to everybody there in England that will be attending the protest, that will be participating in that. Let your voices be known, folks. For all my Spurs fans that may be watching either live or later on in a playback, if you are in the area and you can make your voice known, you can be a visual number of the people who want to voice their discretion and wanting to get Enoch out, I suggest you go out there and make your voice known. If you're not, and if you're like me, I try to find any way I can to support. So obviously that's why I'm talking about it now, spreading the word, supporting the message. I suggest you do the same. But yeah, shout out to everybody that's out there on that side of the pond, so to speak, that would be able to participate in this mass protest. It is a mass protest, by the way. As much as the numbers were small at the last protest from what I saw on social media. This is a mass protest. It looks like there's going to be a demonstration in the stadium as well as outside of the stadium. So hopefully this should send a message. This will have the numbers for it. We will see. But we're going to be discussing it all. So everybody, let's go ahead and we're going to get into our first topic here. Let me get the the transfer window. Yes, the transfer window is closing this weekend. I think it officially closes on Monday. Yes, I will be going live on Monday. We'll be there to discuss all the last minute buys that Tottenham make because that is what it appears like what we're going to be doing. But yes, the window is closing this weekend. Haven't seen a lot of activity today. Today's Friday the 30th. It's going to be the 31st on Saturday. Then it's going to be the 1st on Sunday. I almost said the 32nd. It's going to be the 1st, February 1st on Sunday. And then on Monday, it will be the 2nd. The window will officially be closed on the 2nd. I think that is the official closure date of the window. So I'm not sure any transfers can go on past Monday. I think that is the very last day. Again, I'll be going live, so I'll be discussing all that in detail. But yes, the window is coming to a close, folks, and it appears that Tottenham have slowed down in their transfer actions and buying and selling. Like I said, it looks like we might be saving some last minute moves to the very end, maybe to get some sneaky business done. Maybe it's going to be some panic buys. We'll have to see. But let me know what you think, folks. You can put it in the comments as well, whether it's on the live stream comments or just in the playback comments as well on the YouTube. But let me know what you think. Have we done enough in this transfer window? We got Conor Gallagher, right? We got Souza as well. All right, we got rid of Brendan Johnson. We sold him to Crystal Palace. I think Alfie Dorrington was going away on loan, so that's one of the academy people that's kind of can be supplements to the requirement. That's going away on loan. As far as any other big business, that's really been it. So let me know, folks, is that good enough for you? Do you think that's been solid recruitment? Do you think we've picked up in the areas that we've need to continue on the fight this season, especially with the thought and the threat of a relegation battle, which I mean, I'm not sure if we'll necessarily be dragged into a relegation battle, but it is a thought because we are so low on the table, right? These other teams we see are good enough to pick up points every so often. So if we're not good enough, if we're not recruiting in those areas, well, I'm saying, yeah, if we're not good enough, we haven't recruited in those areas. We'll see that maybe the few points those teams pick up may catch up to us as we don't pick up the points in the area in the games that we need. So I just let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about it. As far as my take on it, I'll say this: I don't think we've done enough. Not in my opinion. We need attackers. From what I'm gonna say. Here we go. Yeah, Spurs. We need attackers. That's been the big thing with me. It's that's kind of been the drum I've been banging pretty much since the beginning of the transfer window. It's just been the lack of goals we've had. I think as far as the midfield and the defense, I mean, it hasn't been the best either. So I do understand that people may think that we need to recruit in those areas. And I agree that there's still areas to improve upon in the defense and the midfield. But from what I've seen this season, the area that we've struggled the most is in the attack. And we have no goals, right? From what we've seen with Frank's tactics, it looks like the buildup is mostly going to be from coming out in the wing play and kind of directing balls, crosses into the. Okay, because I said directing balls. All right. Directing crosses into the box. So if we don't have that striker that's going to be is going to be first of all has the finishing ability that we need, or if we don't have a winger that's out wide that has the one-on-one skill and technique to go go at the defender, create space for themselves, create time to bring midfielders and other players into play, right? If we don't have an attacking midfielder that can pick those passes that help connect the play, as well as put a good shot on goal. As much as we have Xavi Simons and we have James Madison's going to be out the rest of the season. So if you want to say we need to bring in another number 10, you need someone. I think we need someone that's has a good eye for shots outside of the box. I think we need someone that's has a good eye for crosses as well. Finding what would you say? Being able to put passes through from a distance, from a space. You know what I'm saying? Be able to find space, put those passes through um, up in the air. So it's kind of weird what I'm trying to say, but ultimately, if you want to go for those sort of, we need those sort of profiles on the team, or if you want to say that, because I don't like using the profile terms, don't like saying that, but really what you need is you need a winger that can take the man on. You need either a winger that can put the ball in the back of the net. You need a striker that can put his laces through the ball, that can put the back of his thigh through the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like he can, like put his full hamstring through the ball when he can. Like we need like one of those strikers that just has that eye for goal, that just wants to put the ball in the back of the net, that's looking to turn, shoot, boom, boom, get it, take the touch out into space, boom, put it in the corners. You know what I'm saying? That's what we need. All right. Forget all this profile stuff. Forget all this whatever about trying to pick out the passes stuff. Forget it. I hate talking like that. It's just so dumb. It's so dumb. It's just so. Ugh. Anyways, all right. People want to sit there and act like you don't know what you're talking about when you try to when you describe simple stuff like this. You need someone who's good one-on-one, and you need someone who can put the ball in the back of the net. Well, everybody's going to be like, well, yeah, duh. You need to go a little bit deeper than that. Not really. Not really. Because you want to sit here and do all these X's and O's and passes and all this. All that stuff's fine. What are we missing? We're missing goals. And when we get on the ball, what do we see? We see nobody has any ability to take a man on. So those are the players you need. Simple as. I get this whole profile and, is this guy an 8 attacking midfielder? This is a winger / inside forward / this attacker is a number 9 / false number 9 / he's only a finisher. He's not going to strike the ball. Whatever this is, whatever bull BS it is, whatever you need to say to justify this guy doing this, doing that, whatever, this is what we need, in my opinion, just to be straight up, just to be pretty frank with you guys, right? No ballparks, right? No wieners, no Oscar Mayer, right? Just to be frank with you guys, all right, we're just lacking that edge on offense. And give it time. I think the midfield can sort itself out, right? I think we have good enough midfielders to where I think people are going to find their roles and play their roles. Yes, that's come down to Frank's selection as well on the day, the matchups individually with the other team, but I think we have good enough midfielders to where I feel like I mean, yes, can we use someone who's a little bit better at passing the ball? I think we could use a better passer on the ball. I don't think we have like the midfielder that's that good at passing, right? I think all of our midfielders are a little bit weaker in the passing department, but they're good at running back and forth. They're good at tackling. So I think that their roles can be sorted out. I think they can figure themselves out. I think the defense can figure itself out if it's not already figured out. Christian Romero and Van de Ven are your starters. If it's not, it's Danzo filling in that role. Dragusin, who it looks like we're probably going to get rid of, who doesn't want to be here. We're going to figure that out. We got another young center back who's tearing it up in the German league. We got the Japanese center back, which I totally forgot even existed, but he's also a player that we have as well coming in. So we have the Souza kid that we just bought as well. So we have at least some pieces there in the defense. Not the best still. Can do better. Definitely improve. But right now we need attackers. We need attackers. Any I think if you ask any fan, most fans, they're gonna say we need attackers. But have we done enough so far? No, not in my opinion. Again, it seems to me that we are waiting till the very last minute to try to get deals done. And it feels that, as much as I would hate to say, that's something that I know I've said in the past, we've blamed on Levy. I know a majority of fans have blamed Levy for waiting till the very last minute of the window to get deals done because that's apparently what we thought the type of businessman he was. It appears that this group with Enoch and Vinay and Lange is doing the exact same thing. It appears we're waiting till the very last minute to get business done. If we are going to get any other business done in this January window. So if you ask me, I think it's first of all, it's dangerous to do this because one, when you want to sign players of a certain quality and level, yes, money talks. If you put the money down, that can provide an incentive on the player's end to say, okay, this team wants me, I'm down to go. And then it's up to the club. The club usually says, well, this player is a really good player. We've been relying on him so far. That's why he's been getting so much playing time. If we sell him, we need to bring in a player that we can rely on to have this much playing time. Now, depending on the club and how they're structured and how much communication is going from up top to bottom between the coaches, the staff, and the ownership and the people who handle the transfers, right? They will say the squad is ready to move on from this player, or we need time to find a player to bring in or to bring players in, or whatever plan the manager has to, try to figure out losing this player, right? If the manager has said, I am planning to accept losing this player to this team, to Tottenham, and I've come up with this plan, and the ownership says that we're going to go through with this plan, right? They need time to execute that. And if we wait till the last minute, that club is not going to have time to execute it if they have not executed it already. And if they have not executed it already, then there's only two things that can happen. Either the club is going to say no, and we need to keep the player, or the club will say, we will let you sign this player, but not now, in January, in the summer, As soon as the summer window opens, the second it opens, if the player agrees, we'll agree, you can buy the player. But we can't do it now because we don't have anybody that can come in. So Tottenham is really putting themselves in a tough position because they're putting other teams in a tough position to say, all right, they pretty much have forced the player's hand because they've either thrown up the money for the player to say, we want you and we're going to pay over the odds, or we're going to pay the amount that's on the table, what's been required, because we want you, here it is. Or if we put in less of a bid, they're going to say they're doing hardball with us, right? Say a player's worth $40 million. If we put in a bid for $37.5 million, right? You're putting the player in a hard place because he's going to say, that's not the value I'm worth. I know I'm not worth that. But if I say yes and so go to this team, and the team says no, what is that going to look like not only for me in the future when I'm doing deals and my team is doing deals, because then it just looks like I'm willing to just go anywhere at any price. And then what is that going to look like to my teammates when they see that whole saga and then I got to walk back into that dressing room? I got to walk back into the locker room, and it's, like I got to pretend like I'm all for the team. I'm 100% on board. After everybody just saw in the news that I was willing to go for $3 million less to this bigger team, just because it's a bigger team or whatever reasons I may have, that's when, the media would start to speculate and all that stuff. So you're putting the other team, you're putting the pressure on everybody to make the decision. And if that team decides to say no, it makes it easier for them to say no because there's so much pressure in that situation. So you factor all that in to say, if you would have got the deals done earlier, right? Or at least made the inquiries and say, or at least put in the proposals. Put in the proposal for the deal, right? Maybe this isn't the actual sending the money or the actual all right, this is our actual deal that we're setting up right now. Maybe you just say, all right, well, let them know we're willing to pay $45 million for an Akliush, right? For Akliush, or the dude for Cuomo, right? Well, I don't know if he's still on sale. I think he wasn't on sale for the January window, but for Akliush, right? Or for Ademola Lookman, right? Ademola Lookman was like, what, 40? So say, all right, tell his agent we're willing to pay 42 and a half. We're willing to pay $42.5 million to get you out of there immediately, have you shipped, express to London, have your medical, everything done, have your hotel, have a place for you to stay, have a taxi for you to go straight to the training grounds day one, so we have you ready, $42.5 million, right? If you would have done that at the beginning of the window, that gives Atalanta time to say, hey, we got these games coming up, we got Champions League coming up. No, we don't want to do the deal. All right, let's go look for somebody else then. Akliush, let's do you. All right. Oh, Atalanta's out of the Champions League. Wait. Tottenham, come back. You said $42.5 million. This player is only worth $40 million. The player's still saying, yes, I'd rather go to Tottenham. All right, let's do the deal. Boom. Akliush. And Monaco. Oh, Champions League, we can make it to the next round. Sorry, Tottenham. We'd rather keep him and take our chances of in the round of 16 or in the playoffs to the round of 16 versus whoever we're playing. And we'll go that way. We'll do it that way. We'd rather keep him and sell him in the summer if he's ready to go, and then sell him now and then blow all of our chances in the Champions League. So be it. All right, we got Ademola Lookman on the left wing at least. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you do that at the beginning, it makes it a whole lot easier to get the deals done towards the end of the window. Because teams know what it is. They know what the deal is. If it was me, that's exactly how I do the business. Now, I'm sure football business is different. I'm sure some people are saying that's a terrible way of doing business. Why would you tell them what you're willing to pay on the front end? Where's the negotiation room? We can always negotiate, but if my manager says I need this player, right? If I'm an owner, I'm going in and saying, here's what I'm willing to pay. Here's the deal right off the bat from the very beginning of the window, right? You don't have to do a mass email to every single team with an inquiry or whatever. But every time in January, it's like, all right, this is a player we're going in for. Boom. I'm sending the deal that day. We want this dude for this much. You get back to us. We're going to go ahead and you get back to us. Let us know when we can talk to his agent, because we got the phone number already dialed up in the phone. We're just waiting to press the button. Let us know when we can press the button. Put that pressure on them towards the beginning of the window, so then they have to say, well, we need to respond. Now, we got time to figure something out. It's the January window, so this is not a end of the world type of thing. Teams would be a lot more willing to do the business and wiggle and negotiate if they know they got time to figure something out. When they don't know they have any time to figure anything out, they're not going to be willing to negotiate. They're not willing to do a whole lot. They want the perfect deal structured perfectly the way they want it. And if that's how Tottenham wants to operate, right? Present a deal. We present a deal. They say, hey, we need it this way. We try to find a middle ground, following the structure, however the team, however the deal, however you want to talk about deals being done. Like, however we're doing it now isn't good enough, in my opinion. So to me, it's just baffling that we go through this every single transfer window. It feels like we go from the summer window, we don't get certain deals done, but don't worry, we're going to attack those first thing in the January window. When the January window hits, we literally don't do anything. We literally don't do shit until the very last day of the window, and then it feels like they're panic buys. Or we have a window like this, where we buy two players towards the beginning of the window, don't do anything until the very last day of the window. And it's like, why just – you could have just bought those players on the last day of the window if you weren't doing deals throughout the window, and then maybe doing some last-minute deals on the last day, something like that. Or, hey, if you did a whole bunch of deals throughout the window, a whole lot of fans wouldn't be expecting a whole bunch of deals done towards the end, because if you say, hey, if we signed 3 or 4 players already in January, when we get to the last day and we don't do any deals, some fans would be like, oh, okay, because we already bought 3 to 4 players already. There's no need to try to buy 2 or 3 more players on a last minute fire sale, panic buy. If we already got 3 to 4 players, right, that fit the recruitment, that are what we need, that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's baffling to me. It's every window we go through this. Every window, it's the same story, and we're told the same thing, right? We have 100 to 150 million pound quote unquote war chest that we can go to, that the ownership has been going to investors, right? They've been putting themselves on the line in the boardrooms, in the meeting rooms, asking for money for the club. Can we do this? Can we get this for our team? We need this money in the transfer window so we can buy world-class players, the best for the best, for the best fans in the world, for the best club in the world, right? That's what our ownership is doing, right? That's what Vinay and Levy and Lange, that's what they've been doing, working together. That's what Charrington's come in to do. That's what Levy hasn't been doing. That's what Enoch is coming to do, to revolutionize, right? That Levy couldn't do himself. Bring in that money for a war chest and buy the proper players in January, and we go again. But we got Souza, who's a teenager from South America, who, let's be honest, was no Esteval, coming out, right? I don't think anybody was talking about this kid. This kid was no sensation, right? I haven't seen any highlights of him. I haven't seen anybody in Europe talk about him. Hell, I haven't seen anybody in South America talk about him. I haven't seen anybody in North America talk about him. So we got this kid, I guess, who's supposed to be a ninth wonder of the world that nobody knows about, right? An unearthed gem. Okay. Really feels like to me that he's probably going to end up going out on loan, right? Regardless of whatever manager we bring in next season, feels like he's probably going to be going out on loan in the summer, right? Doesn't really feel like he's a permanent spot in the squad. But we bring in Conor Gallagher, who, in my opinion, who I think is a solid player still. We need to bring in more. You need to bring in. The thing is, Conor Gallagher is not a piece that turns the team together, that brings everybody together to make everybody good. Conor Gallagher is that piece you put in when everybody's good, and it helps move everything along. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't bring Conor Gallagher in to make your bad players good. You bring in a Conor Gallagher to make your good players better, right? You bring in a Conor Gallagher to help your great players, your good players, do the good things they're already doing even more. Allow them to have the freedom to do that even more. You don't bring in a Conor Gallagher, right, to save your squad and to save your team from relegation. You bring in a Conor Gallagher to help push your team for a top 4 push. You know what I'm saying? If you want to get Europe, you bring in a Conor Gallagher to help your team get in Europe. You don't bring in a Conor Gallagher to save your team from relegation. That's not how that works, right? First of all, there's very few world-class players of that ilk, right, that can do that, because it's what's required of a team to do that is more than just through one player. It's a team effort. It's tactics. It's planning. You need to figure out how many points you need to get. It's a whole lot more than, okay, we brought a midfielder in, and this midfielder is going to do this, this, and this. The things that we've already been doing already in the midfield roles, right? We already have a midfielder doing that. We're just bringing him to do it more because we had an injury. So again, I'm not necessarily saying he's a bad signing, but I've always said from the jump, we needed more. We needed to bring in more, i.e. we needed to bring in attackers, right? If we brought in attackers on the left, in the center, another person maybe in the attacking midfield role, right, that are good enough to spread out the game in the front end, that allows Conor Gallagher to wriggle his way in, okay? He can wriggle his way in and find spaces in the... he can find space in the game for himself and the attacking side. Since I can't say he wriggled himself in, right? You wriggled him. Okay, whatever. It's very immature. All right, but he can find space in the attacking end and have impact in the game. He can find the space and time to have impacts in certain points of the game if you have good players already doing their thing. You know what I'm saying? You don't bring in a Conor Gallagher to say, all right, we need goals. We need to be better on defense, right? We need more balance in the midfield, all right? We need to understand and change our tactics against certain teams in the season. When you need all of that, you can't bring in one player and expect change. Now, I don't think any fan was under the impression that Conor Gallagher was going to revolutionize this team. But as you can clearly see, those are what I see in social media, we need more. we definitely need more. He was never going to come in. First of all, he wasn't even really that wanted by some fans. He wasn't really wanted. He was never going to come in. Nobody was saying, well, this is going to be the guy that turns it around. Everybody was saying, well, he's not a bad player. If we can bring in more and have Conor Gallagher, that's good. That's a good window. You would say that's a good window. You bring in a couple of attackers. a striker, and Conor Gallagher, you say that's a good window. If you only bring in Conor Gallagher, you say that's not a good window, and that's not anybody. That's not how would you say it? That's not going to save us. It's not going to save us. If that's not, and if you think that is going to save us, then that's you've been sorely mistaken on what Conor Gallagher is and what he does and what he can do for the team. And you severely mistaken what your team needs at this point, especially for Tottenham Hotspur, who are trying to avoid getting sucked into a relegation battle. You need to be looking at every game as a war of how many points you can get, right? When you can get the points. When you're talking about playing a Man City and all these bigger teams that you know that we're not going to be able to outplay, as good as performances we've been seeing against Borussia Dortmund and Eintracht Frankfurt and in the Champions League, right? There's teams that we're not going to be able to outplay. We could outplay all those teams. All the teams except for PSG and the Champions League, we could have outplayed. We can outplay all those teams. Regardless of what the tactics are, player for player, our players can outplay the other team, in my opinion. So we come in the Premier League where it's going to be a physical, first of all, it's going to be a fast and physical dogfight every game. The teams that don't have the skill and technique on the ball, what are they going to do? They're going to drag you into a physical dogfight, and they're going to do it as fast as possible. From minute one, they're going to be throwing in tackles. They're going to be throwing their body in. They're going to be running full speed at you. And if your team's not up for it that day, right? You already got players that are like, I know I feel an injury already coming up in this game. I'm not going for it. I'm not with it. Right? There's going to be players going to be saying, I'm not with it. All that running and all that tackling, I'm not with it. Pulling and shoving in the penalty box, I'm not with it. Right? Pulling on jerseys, right? Scraping the back of your ankle. Yeah. ACL tearing magnets, I'm not with it. So, and don't get me wrong, or I shouldn't say don't get me wrong. Understand this. This has happened to this team this season. There's been games where our players have just looked and said, I'm not with it. Nottingham Forest was one of those games where there's just, I'm not, this is not our game. This is not our night. We're going to do what we can to get through the 90 minutes. That's 30 minutes times 3, 2 45-minute halves, however you need to break it down, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever, however you need to do it, but I'm not with it. Nope. Nada, not me. I'm not with it. I'm not going with this game. Nope. So you need more than just a Conor Gallagher is what I'm trying to hint at by saying all that. You need more than just a Conor Gallagher. Real quick, I just wanted to point out some things that I thought were interesting that I saw on the Twitters, on the X's. Where is it here? Was it? Now, in a press conference today, previewing against Man City, and we are going to transition into that. But this is kind of the transition topic, since this was like kind of the preview interview that Thomas Frank did. Now, he said a couple of interesting things in this interview because he was asked some questions regarding what's coming up for the January window. So first of all, I'm just gonna pull up the interview here. I have an interview. Um, so this was like the big quote that I think everybody was kind of pulling from the interview. the They asked the question, media asked the question, it's deadline day on Monday. You've had so many injuries, but because you look to the future as well as the now, is there a possibility that that might not be any new arrivals on Monday? Club work relentlessly to try to do the best they can to improve the squad, especially Johan, Fabio, and Vinay, and of course all the people behind them. I mean it. We can't be too obsessed with the short-term fix, but not helping on the long term, because if we don't do that, all the hard work we put in now can be limited for the future. That's not that we want badly short-term success as well. I can promise that the Lewis family is super committed to this project. I can promise the Lewis family is super committed to this project. So he's calling, first of all, he calls out Johan Lange, Fabio Paratici, and Vinay, Vinkitesh, all three of them out by name. I know that all three of them are working hard. First of all, folks, Fabio Paratici is out of here. Okay, he's out of here. Don't know if you noticed that. He's gonna stay through the January window. That's bullcrap. All right, that was BS from the jump. All right, he's not helping at all with this January window. He's pretty much probably already moved into Italy right now. All right, he's not hanging around Tottenham Hotspur offices, right? He's not hanging around with the crew. He doesn't want to have lunch with them. Okay, he's probably already gone to Italy. He's probably moving all of his things down there from England if he hasn't already. And he's probably already settled into the Fiorentina job. He's probably already doing and answering emails for the Fiorentina job and just simply saving face for this ownership that has completely. Hold on, let me bring it up here, because this is as we kind of transition into the preview between Tottenham and Manchester City, negligence versus incompetence. But so just to say all that, Fabio's gone. So even though he calls him out because the club has made a statement that he was going to be part of all the January window deals in working with this squad and with this team to get the January transfer window deals done in this time before he goes off to Fiorentina, right? But he's gone. He's gone. Johan Lange, who again does not have the best track record so far. I mean, you could say Xavi Simons, good signing. You could say Kolo Muani, that was kind of just a throw in the dark. Paulinho, good signing. Wilson Odebear, not really the best. Don't really think is not doing well. But out of the Matisse Tell and all the young prospects that we have right now, he's probably been the most solid. So you would say mediocre signing. I think Danzo may be part of that. It was a solid signing. He's come in, done his job as a backup. Conor Gallagher, don't really know. The Sousa guy, don't really know, right? So he doesn't really have the best track record to me right now. So expecting him to pull an ace up his sleeve, a rabbit out of the hat, right? Turning water into wine. I'm not sure if he has that magic power. I'm not sure if he has that in his locker. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do that. And interesting enough, if we don't buy anybody by Monday, it will show that either and what from what I've seen as well, we'll kind of get into it. There was only 2 or 3 players that he had in mind that he wanted to sign that either got signed by other players or simply rejected Tottenham. or two, there was nobody else. The whole entire time, the only thing that this recruitment team can come up with to sign or either got approval of from Enoch and Thomas Frank to sign was Conor Gallagher and the Souza kid, right? Maybe they brought in other players and maybe Thomas Frank said no. But out of all the players in the world, right, the hundreds of thousands of football players that have cell phones, with management teams that are accessible, with clubs that are accessible, with the network that team or with Tottenham probably has, with being one of the top 6 teams in the Premier League, right? One of the most watched leagues in the world, right? One of the most money-making leagues in the world, right? So with all that network, all the players that they could get at this time was Souza and Conor Gallagher. That should let you know that Johan Lange is completely incompetent in his role, right? Whether you want to argue it's negligence and the fact that he's completely ignored everything up until this point, where he's not been watching the football, he's not been answering his text messages for Frank, not been answering his emails, right? And now that it is the end of January, he's like, I need to do something to make it seem like I've been busy and working on something because all I have is Conor Gallagher and Souza. That's all I got. That's all I got. That's all we can get. That's all we can get on the phone. Conor Gallagher was my ace up the sleeve because that was a big name. But other than that, Souza was the only player I could get. If that is negligence or incompetence where he simply could not do any other deals, right? Or that his magic, whatever methods he uses for scouting said, hey, this Souza guy and Conor Gallagher are probably your best bet for saving the team this season, and I mean that wholeheartedly with my chest, then that is complete incompetence on his end. And last but not least is Vinay Venkatesan, who has been the PR guy, who is now the CEO, by the way. He's the CEO, making all the decisions, right? CEO making all the decisions, who is a PR guy that has been probably the main force behind everything that's been going out for Tottenham as far as public relations and what's front-facing with the fans. So when the statement was released on Paratici, he was behind that. When the decision was made, he was behind that too because he's the CEO. So not only is he behind on the decision, he's behind on what is front-facing to the fans, how it goes out to the fans. So he's part of all of it. So regardless of what Johan's responsibility is or what Fabio's responsibility is, which I don't think he has any because I don't even really think he's here right now, Vinay, right? Vinay, notice how it makes a V. Vinay is the guy that's going to not only be the ones going forward with the decisions, he's also going to be the person that orchestrates how these decisions look to the fans. So those are your three. That's a three-headed dragon that we need to be looking at right now. And Thomas Frank points them out, names them directly. And he says here, I can promise that the Lewis family is super committed to this project. The Enoch family, the people who put all three of these doofuses in charge, right, who put the three stooges in charge to do something, including Frank, so I should really be four, they created this four-headed monster. And that the Lewis family is showing that they are committed to this project, heavily committed to this project. But you know what's funny is that Frank's job is going to be on the line, regardless if he wants to think so or not. His job is on the line. So He may be right. The Enoch family may be so committed to this project that they just might get rid of him. They might just get rid of you. They're so committed to the project of improving Tottenham that they might get rid of you, Thomas Frank. And here you are. Here you are saying, oh, we're doing everything they can. I'm sure they're doing everything they can. It makes no sense. Call them out. Your own players had enough balls to call out the team. All right, Christian Romero, or your own players had enough balls to call out the ownership. Christian Romero had enough balls to call out the ownership and say, hey, these people are coming out here and lying to y'all. And guess what? They're coming back and lying to us. Everybody's being lied to. Christian Romero already said it. And that's going to be my mark. We need to bookmark whatever tweet he made. I don't know if they edited it or if he's deleted it by now, but everybody needs to remember that moment. That Christian Romero, the club captain, right? The player that everybody wants to sit here and say, no, he has to be our captain. He has to be this guy because he's a World Cup winner. He's Argentinian. It's in his blood. He played next to Lionel Messi. Raw this, raw that, whatever. He came out and said, I'm sick of being the fall guy. I'm sick of being the one that has all the negative energy, all the bad energy from the fans. I'm sick, and I don't think he just meant him. I think he meant for everybody, all the players. I'm sick of us having to take the fall for the people behind who come out to you and lie. You know why? Because they're coming back to us and they're lying to us. The ownership is coming out and lying to the fans. The Enoch and Lewis family are lying to the fans. They're not committed to this project. Whether you want to say it's negligence or incompetence. Negligence in the sense that they've been the masterminds behind all of these actions that we've been seeing over the last 25 years and the lack of ambition because they're negligent and they don't care about the footballing aspect of the team, just simply what this does for their portfolio as they walk into boardrooms, walk into meetings to try to make more money, to do more deals, right? If that's all Tottenham is to them and this is negligence for where we are right now, or you want to say it's incompetence. And the Lewis family is saying this is our best 100% hand on the Bible. This is all of our efforts. We're putting in blood, sweat, and tears. The last 25 years of trying to do something to get this club somewhere and do something. This is the results. 3 trophies in the last 25 years. The Europa League, no major trophies in the Premier League, no major trophies in the Champions League. Only a Europa League and an FA Cup. No, not a FA Cup. Technically a Carabao Cup. But not even that. A Carling Cup. So, and they decided they got rid of Levy, right? The evil troll monster that was guarding the door. And now they're the pretty princesses that can be set free and be happy and actually do all the nice and wonderful things they've been thinking about for the townspeople that they couldn't do because they were locked away by some troll monster and Daniel Levy, right? So now that they can go out and talk to the townspeople and do whatever, we can do this. Hiring Thomas Frank, getting Vinay Contestant from Arsenal, hiring Johan Lange, who just got fired from Aston Villa, and hiring and firing Fabio Paratici. No, hiring, rehiring, and then allowing to let go Fabio Paratici. That's what they thought the very best effort. That's what they said, you know what? In the very first time we get the reins and the steering wheel back on the club, this is what we're going to do. This is the plan that we're going to bring success. This is what's going to bring gold and silverware to Tottenham. It's Thomas Frank, Vinay Venkateshan, Johan Lange. This is our team. This is our group. These are our guys. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? It's just, honestly, it beggars belief. It beggars belief. And here we are in January wondering what the fuck is happening in this transfer window. What are we doing? Are we buying any attackers? What's going on? What are we doing? Well, with all that being said, if you're like me, and guess what? You're upset with how the club's being run. You're probably going to be happy for this game coming up. In Tottenham versus Manchester City. Manchester City, right? The pretty much the Premier League kings of the last decade are coming into Tottenham to try to get back on the reins of their title charge against the scum down the road in Arsenal. All right. For the last couple of years, this game has presented an interesting dilemma to Spurs fans, right? One in it being that around this time, this season, right, when we play Manchester City for the second time, it's usually around this time of year in the second half of the season in which teams like Manchester City, teams recently like Arsenal that are trying to win the Premier League need all the points they can get. And teams like Tottenham that like to sit around and do absolutely nothing except waste their fans' times usually aren't going for the Premier League and probably have no competitions they have any actual sight of winning. So they're simply trying to play spoiler. But is this the team to spoil? The team that is trying to stop the scum from winning a Premier League? Do you want to spoil Manchester City? Last season, or I think it was the season before. Was it? Yeah. Was it the season before? I think it was the season. So 2 seasons ago, this presented itself in the ultimate fashion as Manchester City was on the comeback, on the hunt from Arsenal, who had a well-established lead on the Premier League. And many Tottenham fans are saying, we want Manchester City to win this game, even though they're playing us at home, so that they can get the 3 points to catch up to Arsenal. While there is another sect of the fan base that said, no, at no point in time, as a fan of Tottenham Hotspur, do I want the team to lose. And that even though Arsenal may get 3 points in their game and we prevent Manchester City from getting points to keep up with Arsenal, I'd rather us win or draw the game than lose. It presented such an interesting dilemma that it even seeped its way down to the squad, and to the players, and to the manager. To the point where the manager even addressed it in the media, to which he called the fans losers for wanting to lose this game. That he wanted to win so much he couldn't understand, couldn't fathom the fact that the fans wanted their own team to lose, regardless of the circumstances or the context that was presented. Fast forward next season, right? A similar situation, but Manchester City is far off of it. Still lose. But hey, what are you going to do? Fast forward to this year. Similar situation to 2 seasons ago. Arsenal in the league, in the Premier League. Manchester City on the hunt to get the points to catch up with Arsenal. It has now presented another dilemma to Tottenham fans. Should we want to win this game, collect points from this game, and stop Manchester City from catching up to Arsenal at maximum 3 points? Or do you say this Tottenham team, which is not competing for anything, by the way, not competing for the Premier League, is simply fighting a relegation battle, say this is not the game to die on your shield as far as getting 3 points in your relegation battle or to stop yourself from getting stuck in a relegation battle. There's other games in the season with better likelihoods of getting 3 points. Teams you have more likelihood of beating. So why not lose this game, allow Manchester City to get the 3 points, allow them to get back in the race with Arsenal, and Tottenham Hotspur can regroup and find another game to get their points from and the endeavors that we need. Because granted, folks, as much as we say we don't want to be dragged into a relegation battle, right? Teams that often get relegated don't get points often. So you can make the argument that this is just one of those circumstances that you could look as a game you don't get points from, especially against a good team like Manchester City. So why take a loss so hard, especially if in the end Manchester City gets points to catch up with Arsenal? Or do you say it doesn't matter? One, because we need to be getting all the points we can get in whatever times we can get, because we can still challenge for top 10, a European spot, or to simply provide the best platform for the team, for the manager, whoever that might be, whenever the time comes next season. An interesting dilemma, of course. Interesting dilemma, of course. In my opinion, to be quite honest, I'm of the group that I don't think at any point we should want Tottenham to lose a game. All right. I think the fact that it comes down to this is our fault and literally up to our doing, because if we lose a game, we have an effect in this game. So it is our doing. If we go for it and try to go for the win, or regardless if we go for it and we lose, or vice versa, where we don't go for it and we lose, this is our doing because, one, we don't try to compete in the Premier League. Our ownership doesn't put our infrastructure as far as our recruitment, management staff, and players in a position to compete in the Premier League. So when our rivals do, when Manchester City does, when you look at teams like Liverpool and Aston Villa, and now maybe what we're seeing from, say, a Manchester United that are trying to move in that fashion, and your ownership doesn't, you get put in these certain situations. To now, you're playing, I don't want to say bridesmaids, because you can say a bridesmaid, because a bridesmaid can ruin a wedding, or they can help the wedding go even better depending on what. So let's say bridesmaid. You're playing bridesmaid in this situation, in which you're watching, I guess, the groom, which is the scum down the road, and Manchester City, the bride. And you can say, I can ruin this wedding for myself because I'm a bridesmaid, or I can make sure this goes well because I'm a bridesmaid. Either way, right? Either way, it's your doing. It's your bidding. However this wedding goes is up to you. They're going to do their thing regardless. What are you going to do? It's up to you to decide. So It's an interesting dilemma. Again, I don't want us to lose. I want us to win this game. I don't think we can win this game, so I would love for us to draw this game and collect points so we can avoid this relegation battle and try to get back into the top 10, right? That's my goal. That's what I thought for this team from the jump, is that we're good enough to get into the top 10. So that's probably what this season is a top 10 team in a top 10 season. So put our heads together, clonk them together hard enough, right? Enough times in the Premier League. Maybe, just maybe, we can get into top 10. But how you do that is you got to collect points whenever you can, because this team is not good enough to pick and choose what games we want to collect points from, as we clearly seen against a Burnley, against a West Ham, against a Bournemouth, against the who else? Against an Aston Villa. These teams that we feel like we should be able to beat just based off of the name status alone, right? We don't have the players, nor the tactical nous, nor the manager, nor the grit, grind, or mentality to come into these games and dictate how we want them to go. As a matter of fact, in most games, if not every single game, we are completely reacting to whatever is going on around us. Whether it's the crowd being bad, whether it's the team playing better than us, whether it's the manager's lack of reaction. Everything and all the things that we've been doing has been in reaction, never in never in oh my god, what is the word I'm thinking of? Oh my god. You know what? Forget it. Forget it. But anyways, we're always reacting. We're never proactive in what we're trying to do, and it's just, it's so frustrating. It's just very frustrating. Very, very frustrating is what I can say the least. We're going to close on this because we've been going for about an hour and a half. We're going to close with the Enoch out protest. So there is going to be a demonstration at the Manchester City game. I got this pulled up from Spurs Twitter. And shout out to Change for Tottenham. They organized this graphic, I believe. It says it's time to act. Change for Tottenham protest Sunday, February 1st during the Manchester City game. If you want to read the graphic, it goes as such. The board will not listen to silence. They will not listen to patience. They will only listen when the match-going fans show visible collective discontent. If we don't act together inside the stadium, nothing changes. So, in that statement, which I do believe, I do agree, the message really isn't going to come across until the fans in the stadium do something, until we stop attending games, until we stop buying food and beverage and getting, merchandise and all this stuff. Until we stop doing that, this will continue to go on and on and on and on. And the ownership will have the power to continue to do whatever they want, whether it's doing whatever they want or ignoring the fans. And every time, if we're able to get a demonstration big enough, right? Every time you talk about Tottenham, they're gonna bring up that demonstration. Well, you remember that one time? Well, the fans, the fans, they don't like this. Remember, because they did this. Or every time you watch Tottenham on TV, and every time you see in the 75th minute in a home game at Tottenham, the fans are leaving. Well, why are they leaving? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's because of the ownership. They're protesting. Oh, yeah, that's because of this. They don't like, the fans don't like this, and they're trying to change this. So they're doing that. They're walking out. Right? The more you can get the match going day fans to react because those are the most front facing of the fan base, right? When you want to talk about fans and I'm not saying that they necessarily represent how all the fan base feels. They don't represent how all the fan base feels because obviously when you go online, look at the YouTube Spurs content world, there's people who feel almost on the complete opposite end where some may think everything is fine, but then you also have fans who are on the same side but have some discontent with the match going fans because it's you don't like what's going on, but yet you're not doing anything about it. You're still paying the match day tickets. You're still going in. You're still paying for the beers. You're still paying for the scarves. You're still paying for the jerseys. You're still going in and enjoying your time in the stadium. But then inside you're upset. You're saying, "Oh, but I don't like what's going on." And to top it all off, it'd be different if you would say the average day match going fan wasn't aware of these issues with the ownership because it's too above board or it's too above the head, it's too above board. You're getting too much into the 3D chess of everything. The usual everyday fan is not going to be thinking about ownership decisions and what their ambition for the club is and stuff like that. They're mostly going to be talking about the manager, the squad, individual players, individual decisions on the field, moments with the ref. Oh, the ball did this. That was a crazy moment. Oh, this player is this good. So it was this reason and that reason. They're not going to sit there and get up into the weeds, deep into the decision making and all this stuff when they talk about the club. But the thing with Tottenham, and the fact is that one, these protests and these demonstrations, they've worked before because now usually the topic of discussion, whenever you talk about Tottenham in the media, whether it's social media, YouTube, the Talk Sports, Sky Sports Media, ESPN, um, all the stuff, they mention the ownership. They say, oh, with Enoch, with Daniel Levy, even with Daniel Levy gone, right? Oh, Enoch, after Daniel Levy left, why do they bring it up? It's because there was a demonstration during the time period under last year. There was a demonstration of around 2,000 people, a protest, and it was big enough to grab the media's attention, big enough to show a big enough visual display that there was enough fans that were in discontent of how things were being run under Daniel Levy and Enoch's tenure. And regardless of whether you say it worked or not, Daniel Levy got fired afterwards. Regardless if you can say it would work again with Enoch, you still need to show in numbers what your discontent is, because then at that point, whenever people talk about Tottenham, whenever people talk about whatever's going on, whatever subjects, oh, but remember now, the ownership. So for even the match day going fans, right, when they're not getting to the deep of the weeds of this stuff, when they get on Talk Sport to talk about what they saw in the game, well, guess what? They're going to be talking about the ownership. When they go on YouTube, right, because maybe their kid's a Tottenham fan and they're looking at the YouTube content world, the Spurs content world, right? Or when they look at Sky Media because it's one of the news channel, or they go by the sports channel, or there's a sports segment, and they talk about Tottenham. They're going to talk about the ownership. It becomes more and more mainstream to talk about the real issue, which is the ownership, which is the big issue. If we can make that issue more and more mainstream, that's when you get the match day going fans to start to understand, well, wait a minute, it is the ownership. Maybe I should be booing the ownership instead of booing the players, instead of booing Frank. I do believe there's a percentage of the match day going fans that do know that Enoch is a problem. But I do think there is a larger percentage and a majority of the percentage that just think if we can chop and change Thomas Frank, this squad was good enough to win a Europa League. It's the manager's fault that the squad is not performing at that level, if not better, especially since our ownership was the one that told us they were going to do it. So get rid of Frank, get a better manager, more than likely Poch. He's going to do better with this team. This team is good enough to win a Europa League, if not win a Champions League, win a FA Cup or a Carabao Cup at least. And we go again. They're not going to sit there and blame the ENIC out. And they're not going to get into the weeds of the 25 years and what Daniel Levy's firing, how that was front facing, and what Vinay and Lange, what their lack of planning and incompetence versus negligence and all that. They're not going to do all that. They're not going to do all that. But the more you can make the ENIC out and talk about that issue, the more you can make that mainstream, the more and more the more they're not going to, the more front facing it's going to be, the less they're going to be able to not face that. The less they're going to be able to not talk about that, because they can talk about, I mean, it's still a prevalent point now in Thomas Frank, but you can talk about Thomas Frank all you want. Thomas Frank. But there's fans out there that know, one, how Thomas Frank has been backed. He has not been backed well, because any manager in any position, regardless if he's actually getting better performances out of the team, if this is how he was backed, you would say not good enough. And then two, you can say we've had nearly every single type of manager you want to say, the project manager, the win now manager, the resume CV manager, whatever you want to, whatever type of buzzword you want to put for the type of manager you want to classify it as. You had every single type of manager, and Thomas Frank is probably the last one with the proven project manager. And so if this doesn't work out, you're really scratching your head on what else is there to do? Where else is there to go? And as a fan, you could say, well, as an ownership, you got to have a plan for what's next. And there needs to be some accountability that you've gone through pretty much every single type of manager you've had, and you only have maybe one or two or three trophies to show for it. So, yeah, these demonstrations are important. They need to be done because they bring out the issues. They front face the issues that are really happening. And I think change for Tottenham, I think, is a little bit iffy. It was a little bit iffy at first. I think the protests in general is a little bit iffy because I do think fans are flaky. I think fans, whenever the results are going a certain way and there's a lot of negative energy, the same thing can be said with the protests last year. The reason why the protests last year were so effective, and I think the reason why there was such a big fan turnout, was because we were losing so many games in the Premier League at that time. And you could see, and you could tell, you could see that the fans were flaky, because as soon as we started winning in the Europa League, and we were talking about protesting on Europa League games or the games after the Europa League, everybody's like, well, no, don't do that. Don't ruin the good vibe. Don't ruin the good juju. We have a good momentum going. We got this and this going. Don't ruin it with the protest. So fans are flaky like that. Fans will flake. They will, if we go on a 3 or 4 game run, I'm telling you, on that 5th game, no one will want to protest. Change for Tottenham would not be able to get a soul to come to the protest. Everybody would be filling up that stadium. They'd be rocking. They'd be rolling. They'd be going. They'd be acting like everything was fine. Thomas Frank was never the issue. Yada, 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 yada. And that's just, that is part of the reason why these demonstrations are important, because it needs to be always a number to show that there are fans out there that don't like what's happening, that do not agree with how this ownership is being run. And when we fail, we fall on our face yet again. We don't win any trophies. We don't do anything this season. And we run through this manager, and we're without a manager in the summer. And we're sitting there saying, oh, well, this summer window is going to be the most important window because we need this, this, and this if we actually want to progress. We need to bring in this manager if we want to progress. We need to play this style of football if we want to progress. We'll be sitting here at that position another summer again. And maybe instead of everybody being bonked on the head and like having their mind erased and we go again, maybe some fans, maybe one or two fans will sit there and say, well, wait a minute, why am I having to try to buy into this again? Why am I having to spend all this money on a season ticket? Why am I having to do this? Why am I having to be patient? Why am I having to give it another 2 to 3 years? Why am I having to watch us buy more kids? Why am I having to do all these things over again this year? I just did this 2 to 3 years ago. I just did this 2 years ago. I just did this last year. Why am I doing this again? Shouldn't we be moving somewhere? Shouldn't we be progressing? Shouldn't we be doing this? Shouldn't we be doing that? You know, maybe there's a fan out there that it will dawn on them. Just maybe it will dawn on them. And maybe, just maybe, when that question dawns on them, they'll say, you know what? I think it might be the ownership, because the ownership, every single time I've done it, they told me the same exact things, and these same exact things keep happening, but yet they keep asking me or requiring even more of me. Because that's the thing. They'll tell you the exact same things. The exact same results will happen, but yet they're asking more of you. These ticket prices for these games, they're not getting any cheaper. And the prices aren't staying the same. They're getting more expensive. The prices of these jerseys, they're getting more expensive. The ticket prices for these shows and concerts outside of Tottenham, they're going to get more expensive. When we get that hotel, these packages that you can get, they're going to get more expensive. So they're going to be requiring more and more and more of you as a fan, but yet they're just telling you the same shit. The results have been the same shit every single time. And you have to keep, why do you have to keep buying into it? Why do you have to keep buying into it to be disappointed? Why can't the results change? Why can't this change? Why can't that change? It's just, so these, like, again, this is why I said these demonstrations are important, because it helps keep the light focused on who it needs to be focused on. Because you have a lot of fans that aren't going to understand, not going to realize, aren't going to sit there and nitpick the ownership and decision making like this. They're going to say, oh, if we had this player, oh, if this player would have passed to this player in this moment in this game, we wouldn't have lost. If the ref didn't make this decision, we wouldn't have lost. Oh, if we didn't have Frank, we wouldn't have lost. They're not going to sit there and look at the last 25 years and say, well, this has been a constant issue. This has been consistently happening. This has been a constant failure. Something needs to change. And maybe if that thing changes, the footballing results will change. And maybe they won't change. Maybe we'll still continue to lose games, but maybe we'll have an infrastructure that will actually make us look better on the eye while we lose. Maybe there'll be an actual footballing infrastructure that comes in and makes us win. But something different, some change, right? You know what I'm saying? Like something different. Whatever it is, eke out. And I'll leave it at that. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. We've been going for an hour and a half, hour, 38 minutes. Woo, we've been going for a minute, but hey, I missed you guys so much. I missed streaming. Here back at De La Spurs Studio. So I had to give you guys a little bit of an extra show. I also just had, some additional thoughts I've been needing to get out as well. So I appreciate it again. Everybody who's watching, you know how we're going to close out, folks, the same way as we begin. Last minute logistics here. Like this live stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the X. You know the deal, folks. Hop on this train of madness with me. Get in on this greatness. You don't want to be late. All right, you don't want to be left at the station. So go ahead and do that for me now. Leave a comment below, right? Share this stream. Share the channel with your friends, loved ones, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever social media platform and vessel you use. Go ahead and share this content on there for me, please, and thank you. this has been a great show, folks. We will be coming back to you live on Monday. Monday, that's the second, February 2nd. That will be the end of the transfer window. That will be the end of the January window. So we will be talking about who Tottenham brought in at the time. Did we save the transfer window? Did we bring in the right people? Do we have the players for the fight to get out of this relegation battle and start reaching for the top 10 where we're supposed to be? We'll be talking about it all, as well as discussing the results from the Man City game. Hell, I might even do a reaction live stream on Sunday. I'll have to see, but you're only gonna know about that if you follow me on YouTube. Follow me on X. I'll post when I'll be going live if I ever do decide to do those things. I'll have to see what the logistics look like. But for sure, we'll be live Monday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, again for De La Spurs. I appreciate you guys all for watching again. I will see you then, folks. Until then, peace.